time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Thank you for being here. I'm your host, Kevin McIntosh. Starting off with our top story of the day. During the recent West Bloomfield School Board meeting, several beloved educators headed into retirement. Here is Deputy Superintendent Eric Whitney explaining just how far these dedicated educators' work reached over nearly 500 years of combined service.
And this is really also a very bittersweet moment. I know, Mrs. Brickman, we always talk about this every year, that we are very excited and honored to have some folks with us that have really dedicated a lifelong career to public education and to our families and students in West Bloomfield. We are recognizing this evening 21 employees who've had a successful career, and they are retiring from the West Bloomfield School District. They have truly had an impact on, I would dare say, thousands and thousands of students in their 496 years that they represent here this evening.
Congratulations to our retirees. Last night was filled with smiles, a few tears, of course, and a heartfelt send-off as we wish you all the best in your next chapter. You will be missed. You can see some of the footage and photos right here on your screen if you're watching on Civic Center TV of those teachers being honored for all of their hard work and dedication. And we here at the Splash Live wish each and every single one of them the best in their future as well. And you can check out some of the photos on Facebook at West Bloomfield Schools for more as well. This week also served as a farewell to leaders amongst our local student body. West Bloomfield School Board liaisons Selma and Harshita from Oakland Early College and West Bloomfield High School respectively were honored with the Superintendent's Excellence Award. Here's Dr. Danya Bazzi with some heartfelt words for these remarkable students.
It's a great honor to recognize Selma as one of May's recipients of the Superintendent's Excellence Award. Selma's dedication extends far beyond the classroom. She has held leadership positions in nearly every organization she has joined, including president of the Muslim Student Association, the Debate Club, and vice president roles in both National Honor Society and HOSA. Selma was recently recognized by the West Bloomfield Youth Assistants and received the Daughters of the American Revolution Good Citizen Award. She is deeply respected by staff and students alike. It is a great honor to recognize Harthisha as one of May's recipients of the Superintendent's Excellence Award. She is a top orchestra student who also plays multiple band instruments. She is a state champion in debate, serves as the student government parliamentarian, and represents WBHS as the student liaison to the Board of Education. Your legacy of excellence, leadership, and heart will be remembered forever at West Bloomfield High School.
Well deserved, and you can learn more about their accomplishments and personally wish Harshita and Selma congratulations on the Facebook page of West Bloomfield School District at West Bloomfield Schools for more. Earlier this year, we had an opportunity to hear directly from those incredible student liaisons as they continue their leadership in their final year as students. Civic Center TV's Jake Schaff has the report.
In school, the voices of the students are just as important as the voices of the teachers. And to help make sure that every single voice is heard, the student liaisons work hard to make their generation proud. Working closely with the West Bloomfield School District as well as Oakland Early College, the student liaisons serve as a voice for the student body and help make sure that everyone is satisfied and prepared for years to come.
Well, it was an opportunity that was presented to me through my school student government, and having done that since freshman year, it was something that intrigued me. I asked my advisor about the opportunity. She said that it would be something that maybe I should try out for, and once I interviewed for it and I looked into the position, it's something that I genuinely love, giving back kind of to the community and talking about what we get to do at West Bloomfield and presenting that information to the board is such a valuable role to me, and I'm really excited to be doing it.
I've always been involved in many clubs, and I'm on the board of multiple clubs, so I thought it would be a great opportunity to get to tell the board about what the clubs are doing and really show what OEC does to keep the students involved. It's great because I get to talk to other people in the school and ask them, like, what have you guys been doing? They send me pictures, and it really just helps me get to know the other students and share the amazing things that OEC does.
How does it feel to be a big voice representing the student body?
It's definitely a lot to handle. It's big shoes to fill, but I hope that I'm doing a good job, and I just really want to be able to shed light on all the different activities that are going on at West Bloomfield, because we got a lot of things that maybe aren't as talked about or that could be highlighted more, and I just really like to prioritize those things when I'm giving my presentation.
What are some of the biggest qualities you've taken away from your role?
I think the biggest thing is communication, which I think that's kind of cliche, but I think communication is integral to any type of situation, especially in work, and having those communication skills, especially between the different advisors of clubs and the students that are in those clubs, and then all the way to the administration and getting that information along, has been a really valuable skill for me.
Do you think this is going to set you up really nicely for when you eventually make the jump to college?
Yes, I think especially at OEC, where we are taking college classes at the same time as high school classes, not only are we able to kind of tell like what the college workload is, but we're set up to manage our time and become more responsible, which a lot of people struggle with right when they enter college, but at OEC we kind of have a step to prepare us for that.
What would you have to say to people who might be interested in trying out this position for themselves?
Absolutely go for it. It might sound boring at first. It did when I first looked into it, but genuinely it is one of the most fun, amazing things to be able to collaborate with so many people in the community and to have this experience every month at the board. It's such a great professional opportunity as well as a learning opportunity for anyone who's interested.
It's amazing to hear about the work that these liaisons do to further their education and to help the education of the entire student body. And by serving as a powerful voice now, that's going to mean great things as they head off into the future. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Thank you, Jake. And again, big congratulations to Selma and Harshita on their honors and their impending graduations as well. Class of 2025. Oakland County is looking for public input on housing and neighborhood priorities in your community. The feedback directly influences how federal funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development are used locally. So here to tell us more on the Splash Live is the Oakland County's Neighborhood and Housing Development Officer, Khadijah Walker-Fobbs. Thank you for being here, Khadijah.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
And it's an honor to have you as well. Getting straight into it, I want to ask you, or at least note the fact that the survey has officially closed. But with that being said, how will the results of this year's Community Needs Survey specifically impact neighborhoods within our greater West Bloomfield area specifically?
Absolutely. So when we garnered the feedback, which this year we had probably the highest response ever on record. We had about almost 1,600 responses countywide for this needs assessment survey that we use. And how it will be used is we take the feedback and the priorities that our residents throughout the county and also within the local municipalities in terms of what their priorities of focus are. And that will be embedded into how we make decisions around how the funding will be allocated. And so for West Bloomfield specifically, my team was able to pull up some of the responses that we received, and we had pretty great representation actually from West Bloomfield. We had near 80 people who responded to give feedback on what some of the priorities were for them for this next coming program year in terms of what they would like to see as focus areas for the federal funding. That federal funding is through the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnerships. And so provides things like sidewalk infrastructure. We do public service works. And so I know West Bloomfield has historically supported their senior center. You know, we do improvements to libraries, streetscapes, all of those things. And so in West Bloomfield, it was interesting because we had the majority of respondents say that infrastructure improvements was a critical and a high need. So the two highest responses around infrastructure improvements. And I will say that historically, West Bloomfield has made an investment in their sidewalks and removal of barriers to make things more accessible for residents in parks. And so that's definitely been a focus locally for West Bloomfield. And then also survey respondents in West Bloomfield let us know that they thought that housing assistance to low income families was extremely important.
Okay.
And that was something that should be focused on, as well as reducing homelessness came up very high in the survey by West Bloomfield residents as a priority for how we need to utilize and look at funding. So those are just pulling out some of those key highlights.
No, thank you for that again, Khadijah. That's a mouthful, but ultimately a lot of great information that I'm just learning. I'm pretty sure our audience is just learning as well when it comes to some of the results from this survey as well. And it's an example of what you were talking about, improving some of our sidewalks and our streets and things. That's going on right now, right on Orchard Lake. Some of our sidewalks are being improved. There's some construction there. So great example of how some of our local input is being literally put into practice right now. Now, since we're talking about Oakland County, which is a collage of different people, different backgrounds, and West Bloomfield is a microcosm of that as well. What steps are being taken to ensure that residents from all different diverse backgrounds and income levels have a voice in this planning process?
Absolutely, it's a fantastic question. And so this year, like I said, we had one of the highest responses ever on record from the survey. And I really credit it to strategic outreach to make sure that people were represented in various sectors, various parts of the county, and that we actually had a staff person dedicated to getting out to senior centers, libraries, hospitals, everywhere we could think of to make sure we were distributing the survey, and that we provided not only hard copy paper forms for people who might not have access to technology, but there was also a QR code that was posted in a lot of public spaces where somebody who does have access to technology could just go right from their mobile phone and respond. And we saw that this approach worked because, like I said, this was the highest response countywide. And so we did have a great representation throughout all of Oakland County, rural and urban pockets, to this survey, and have that feedback that will be utilized and put together in our annual action plan when we submit it to HUD this year, taking in consideration those priorities from residents throughout our county. But really a lot of effort made to make sure that senior centers, libraries, city halls, hospital waiting rooms, anywhere else we could think of, we were making sure to get this distributed.
Right. Like you said, to accommodate residents from the highest scale to lowest scale, big, all around, essentially, just making sure all voices are heard from, the oldest to the youngest in our communities. Now, with that being said, also, even considering some of the people who may not be homeowners currently, how can students, young adults, renters in our community get involved in shaping our neighborhood's future through this initiative, for an example?
Yeah, another wonderful question. So first of all, the survey is for 18 and older. So I just want to put that qualifier out there for adults. And we also wanted to make sure, I'll be honest, like early on, we were kind of heavy on those who were homeowners responding. So our staff person, who's our community liaison, made some strategic efforts to make sure that the survey, once again, was distributed in pockets where there's a lot of people who are renting, places and spaces where people are renting, to get that feedback. But it is really important for people to know that this exists. It happens every year, and it is to give the community a voice. And we want to make sure that we are hearing from those who are renting, because we know there's a huge need for housing options, diverse housing options that include affordable rental units for young families and young adults who are starting their working career. And that is something that this division has been strategically focused on making investments in. And it comes from the feedback of people saying, hey, this is something that Oakland County needs. It's expensive to live in Oakland County. We need more options. And so we've made a lot of very strategic investments, even in the last couple years, to support the development of rental units and multifamily units.
Good, good. And I love to hear that too, because not everyone is a current homeowner, and we already know that the access to even own a home nowadays has widened since, a few decades ago. So just trying to accommodate those who may be renting currently or even aspire to own, giving them those options and opportunities is well done by Oakland County. And with me right here, live on the Splash, by the way, from Oakland County Neighborhood and Housing Development, we have Officer Khadijah Walker-Fobbs talking about the survey for the U.S. Department of HUD funds for Oakland County communities, how they will affect us, and what we can do in regards to our feedback. And with that being said, let's just talk about that. So the survey has officially closed, but we also want to talk about the opportunity that people may actually have to still kind of give their input. So how can the feedback from the survey and public comment affect the future of local communities? For an example, under West Bloomfield's master plan, which is actually kind of being constructed now as well.
Yeah, it's once again, fantastic questions. We want involvement from the community. We want to hear voice. So with the survey closing on Friday, there will be a public hearing held on May 27th, Tuesday, May 27th at 4:00 here at our offices at the Oakland County Health and Human Services Division, 1200 North Telegraph Road. There will be a public hearing to take any feedback or questions that residents have. And we encourage participation. And also there's a public comment period. So if you're not able to come out at that time, that's okay. You can still submit your comments to nhd@oakgov.com or call us. We will record those comments. They will be documented. Those public comments are submitted as well with the annual action plan as part of the overall picture to make sure we're capturing input, we're capturing voice. So we encourage residents, submit your comments, participate in the process. Public comments will be open until June 11th. So there's time. Like I said, it'll open on May 27th. Okay. We'll be taking those comments until June 11th, and we encourage people to be part of the process of making your voice heard. That is the whole purpose of the process, how we're doing the work, and making sure that we're shaping things in a way that serves people with their priorities and what they need.
Yep, and that's why we're doing our part here at Civic Center TV as well, which is being the channel to get that information out to our audience and local community as well. Don't want to hold you up too much longer. Couple things I want to know. One, just for perspective, I don't even know if you're able to answer this, but how soon can residents expect to see some of those changes and new initiative as a result of this survey and public comment?
Yeah, so we will be going through the process of submitting our plan to HUD. And so once we collect the feedback, there's a process that goes through our Board of Commissioners. We submit it to HUD, we wait for approval, and it usually takes about 6 months from the time of our submission, which will be in the end of June, early July, where funding is released and we start enacting the plans that each of the local municipalities have submitted to the county as their priorities. So West Bloomfield has already submitted an application for last year. That included, like I said, the senior services, the sidewalks, the removing architectural barriers within the parks. And so each city really is able to dictate some of those priorities for their community on the funding. So once we get approval for our next funding round, we basically work with the local municipalities. West Bloomfield would be telling us, this is what residents have told us, and this is how we would like to apply the funding to use, our community development block grant dollars. And, we're just here countywide to make sure we're supporting our local municipal units with the process and compliance and all those fun things. So that's pretty quick. Yep. Like next year, you would see things being put in place. And like I said, I know that senior services has always been a focus, which is important. And then on a larger scale, you had a great question about the rental units and some of the investments we've made. We don't have one specifically right now. West Bloomfield would love to see one come. So if there's any developers or nonprofits interested, come talk to me. But we have made a huge investment in over 1,008, almost 1,100 units just in the last year and a half of housing throughout the county. And we've made a strategic investment to make sure that we have great projects that are going to to catalyze neighborhoods. It's going to offer more rental options for people as well as home ownership options for people. And there's some just exciting projects that are going to be breaking ground this summer. So I want to make sure I'm elevating that, because when you talk about community voice, that is in response to community voice. That is in response to the needs that we're seeing throughout the county, that such a significant investment has been made by the county to make sure that we are supporting the development of these types of projects.
Right.
So can't not lift that up.
Of course. And I'm glad you took the time to talk about that as well. And while we do have you, any additional information that we did not discuss that you want to let our audience know about before we let you go?
Well, I guess basically, I think I would like to just leave with the fact that that we are very committed to making sure and ensuring that families, young people, seniors have safe and stable housing options. We know that Oakland County, it can be very expensive to live in, but we want people to be able to live where they work. And so that is key. Or age in place if you're in your retirement years. And so I think what I'd like to leave residents with is just knowing that as a county, this division and the county as a whole, the county leadership is committed to ensuring that there are great options for people to create thriving neighborhoods, to make sure people can stay in their homes, they can find homes, and that we offer a diverse array of options that are going to fit the needs of our residents, because we know our residents are diverse. And so we need to make sure there's lots of choices and options. And so it is a priority. It is a focus. We've put our money where our mouth is. We've made investments, and we want people's feedback. So we do encourage people to go ahead and share your feedback. Make sure you're participating in this annual survey. Participate in the public comments. We want to hear from you.
Please do your part. Or, hey, don't complain if, the changes that you want aren't made, because you had the opportunity. But we want to thank you so much again for your time, for your information. Once again, Oakland County's Neighborhood and Housing Development Officer, Khadijah Walker-Fobbs. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And once again, if you want to find out more information about this, or you want to find out how to give your input, you can email them at nhd@oakgov.com or call Oakland Connects at 800-848-5533. Autoimmune diseases are on the rise, with studies showing annual increases of 3% to 12%. And lupus is just one of more than 80 known conditions. We actually recently spoke with Dr. Alireza Maysami from Henry Ford Health West Bloomfield to tell us about the warning signs and impact of lupus. From Henry Ford Health West Bloomfield, we have Dr. Alireza Maysami. Thank you so much for being here, doctor.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. It's lovely to be here and share some good information about lupus. As you mentioned, very important condition that we're going to hopefully talk about that today.
Yes. So let's get straight into it. I just want to know, some of the basics, if this is what it is. So what are some of the early warning signs of lupus that residents in Greater West Bloomfield should be aware of?
Great question, Kevin. So the issue is lupus actually is a very heterogeneous condition, meaning that each individual can present with different symptoms. So there is no one profile fit every patient. But there's some early signs, and I would like to make sure that we raise awareness about those signs. If the patient if any person feel like they have fatigue chronically with no explanation, especially if they have also joint pain, joint swelling, and also more importantly, joint stiffness. In the morning, when they wake up, they cannot move easily and they feel pretty stiff. These are some of the signs of that. On top of that, if the patient starts having some rashes, mainly we call them butterfly rash, which would be a rash and redness over the skin on the face. This is another very important clue that we might need to seek help. Sun sensitivity is another one that is early sign of lupus, and oral lesions. These are some symptoms that if you experience those, we need to actually make sure you see an individual, you see a physician. So because we want to detect this condition before it can affect major organs.
Correct. Especially me just learning that, just doing a little bit of research, knowing that it does attack organs like the heart and the lungs. You definitely want to get at it as soon as possible. Now, from the things that you've seen, how have you seen autoimmune diseases like lupus impact families in the local community?
Absolutely. It affects not only individual, but the whole family. First off, I want to make sure we discuss the underserved, actually, people we have in our local community. It's important also to know that underserved community and also women of color, they actually might get the severe form of lupus. And a lot of these symptoms we discussed might actually be dismissed or contributed to other conditions. And that can result in delaying diagnosis. And as you mentioned, Kevin, that can cause permanent damage, sometimes in kidneys or heart. So we want to make sure we have early detection. Of course, in our community, definitely it can affect not only individual, but also I say that this autoimmune disease will affect the whole entire family.
Correct.
It's important to know that individuals themselves, they actually get involved with lupus and their daily routine, their work, their emotional well-being will be affected because of fatigue and pain by themselves, they can cause that issue. But on top of that, the whole entire family also will sometimes take on a role as like caregiver.
Correct.
Pretty physically and emotionally demanding task to do. And also it can cause some financial burden. So we've seen that. I've witnessed a lot of my patients, not only their life will be affected, but the entire family and even people around them, they all will be affected by this condition. So actually it's opportunity. I want to just talk about that. Then we know this disease can affect multiple organs and can be devastating and can actually affect the family and even community. So it's important to seek some support. There are some support groups. There are social workers, and we got to make sure individuals, when they encounter with autoimmune disease or they get lupus, they actually seek some services that can help them. And on top of that, actually, maybe seeking help in some places they have coordinated care, because we should put all these symptoms together, and it has to be a coordinated care, such as Henry Ford, for example. We offer such a coordinated care to our patients. Again, well-being, emotional well-being, and education they are the keys to manage autoimmune diseases such as lupus.
Education, well said. I would agree with that as well. And I'm just learning as you're speaking as well, as someone who hasn't been directly affected by lupus, but these are some things that I want to learn about so that I can get ahead of the curve in case I do have family members or friends going through this type of situation as well. And with me right here live on The Splash, by the way, from Henry Ford Health West Bloomfield, we have Dr. Alariza Mesami just talking about lupus, the conditions, and some of the signals that we should look out for when it comes to this autoimmune disease. Now, doctor, kind of getting back to the topic, with autoimmune conditions on the rise from some of the things that I've seen, what community-based efforts or even screenings would you recommend, do you think that can help earlier detection in our area specifically?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of community outreach and education. And I believe there is a potential opportunity to have some sort of events where we can screen patients at high risk. And that could be actually a female of childbearing age, 15 to 44 years, especially if they have some of the symptoms we talked earlier, and if they have family history of autoimmune diseases. Then by doing these events, we can hopefully promote early detection and prevent them from getting all those complications and damages in major organs. Of course, I'm a big fan also of collaboration with local clinics, with churches, and even community centers in West Bloomfield area. So we can connect with patients and people there. So then we can engage some of our community members who were not probably seeking help in the healthcare system for various reasons. We can get them involved and engage and hopefully help them.
Yes, I like that. Meeting people where they are. That's the main thing I took away from that. And that's very, very key sometimes, because sometimes people don't even know where to start. So just meeting them where they are is very, very key, doctor. And I appreciate that. So on your knowledge, your experience in this field, can you talk about any advancements in lupus research or treatments that are particularly promising or even relevant to your work at Henry Ford?
Absolutely. You got to see me how excited I am right now, because this is this is the topic I want to talk about.
Let's go.
So this is actually the time that I would just say the era of lupus, the disease that 20 years ago we didn't have more than a handful of medications that were not even effective that much. Now we have very specific medications that can target lupus directly. We have biologic treatments. There are medications like belimumab, anifrolumab, and these actually are basically made for lupus and they're targeted directly. And that actually can change people's life, especially if they have lupus. Now, at Henry Ford, I'm a principal investigator of almost all the clinical trials for lupus. We have clinical trials with new medication on the horizon, and they're coming, and we are offering those to our people of community. If either they had no response to existing treatment, so we offer them to new clinical trial, or if they have no access. Now, another interesting thing is we are about to start a new treatment for lupus. I want to make sure your viewers actually know about that. They call it CAR T cell therapy. These actually are fascinating treatment for lupus and autoimmune diseases where we reprogram our own immune system to go attack the bad cells and bad immune cells and destroy them. So we actually reprogram our own body to fight against the disease. And so far, we've seen patients for like more than almost 3 years. They remain disease-free, medication-free. So we are about to start such a clinical trial at Henry Ford and hopefully getting closer to the big word cure. It's too early to say that, but maybe one day we can take care of lupus patients completely.
Yeah, that's what we want to work towards, eradication, getting it out of here eventually and managing it at the very, very least. And when managing it, let's talk about that. What lifestyle changes do you often recommend to patients in Greater West Bloomfield looking to reduce their risk or even manage this autoimmune disease?
Wonderful question. And actually, I spend usually about a good portion of my visits about lifestyle modification. Very important, even though simple. So first thing is we got to know patients with lupus, they need to have restful, consistent sleep. Sleep is important because that's our reset time. If the sleep is not restful, please seek help and see some specialist or your primary care physician to have a good quality sleep. The second thing, I am a big fan of anti-inflammatory diet, a balanced diet. So it's important to think about some anti-inflammatory diet. Maybe eliminate sugar. That's a fuel for inflammation.
Man, yeah.
Gluten, cut back if you can. And even, some additional, like maybe turmeric would be good addition, and a Mediterranean diet. A low impact regular exercise routinely would be very helpful. Avoid the smoking, and I will limit sun exposure. Because sun, actually, the UV light can trigger lupus and actually can cause major lupus flare. Now, last but not least is stress reduction, Kevin. Stress, for some reason, has a lot to do with flare of the autoimmune disease and lupus. So I tell my patient, use some meditation technique. Try to control your stress. These simple tasks, even though they might look simple, they are very important, if not as important as medical treatment, and we won't be successful without having all those in place. And together, you should just work with the patient to help them.
I'm so glad that you, once again, as a medical professional, make the connection between mental health, your stress, and then your physical health as well. Like, I don't think people really focus or talk about the connection between non-stress or, trying not to stress or managing your stress and then the effects that it can have on your body. So I'm so glad that you put that out there as well as something that can manage this autoimmune disease, as well as talking about the light impact, the low impact exercise. That was one thing that I would have thought, but I'm not the professional. So I'm glad you took the time to explain that as well. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We appreciate you, doctor. But lastly, what advice would you give to someone in our community who may suspect that they have an autoimmune disorder, but haven't yet taught or sought medical professionals yet?
Wonderful question for the last question. Listen to your body. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
If you see that there's some symptoms, especially fatigue, joint pain, and rashes, that's been going on for a long time with no explanation, please seek help. You can see your primary care physician. They can run some small screening tests, and then you can see one of us, a rheumatologist. And we can definitely help you. Early detection is the key. You don't want to wait until lupus goes to the kidneys or major organs. Then that will be actually a major complication. Yeah. You deserve to feel well. And trust me, we are here to help you. Just reach out and you will get treated and will be helped.
Hey, doctor, I appreciate that information so much. I got more research to do myself, but we definitely appreciate you, your information, and your time. Once again, from Henry Ford Health, West Bloomfield, Dr. Alariza Mesami, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
And with May being Lupus Awareness Month, we wanted to take time to speak to an expert to share more information on the autoimmune disease. But for more information, please see your doctor or visit a local healthcare professional. We have so much more information to give you, including talking about local people who make a great impact in our community. We'll discuss that coming up. We are live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live. Missed one of our live broadcasts or one of your local municipal meetings? Check it out online at civiccentertv.com. Every meeting, show, and interview on demand. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
I'm Gina Gregory, president of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. I'm excited that Civic Center TV has reached 1 million views on YouTube. Congratulations. That's just terrific. We appreciate everything Civic Center does for the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society and the community. For us, they promote and highlight our events. It's awesome to have them available 24/7 on YouTube. I'm Gina Gregory and proud to be one in a million.
Want to enjoy Civic Center TV on your social media? Find us on Instagram at Civic Center TV. Get notified when we upload one of our interviews, full episodes, and more. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh. Recently, a local businessman received a major honor for over 50 years of dedicated service. Ron Acho was recognized by the Chaldean American Chamber of Commerce and named their Business Person of the Year. Attorney Ron Acho received the dedication from the Chaldean Chamber, and also was recognized by the West Bloomfield Township Board, where clerk Debbie Binder and trustee Michael Patton had high praises for Mr. Acho.
Many of us were in attendance to watch you get that award. And the first word that came to mind for you was just gracious. I mean, just listening to you speak, and as I mentioned to you, to hear what you said about your wife just made me tear up. But it is such a well-deserved honor, and to the opportunity to be there to see you win this award and to see you recognized, it made my evening.
Everything you just said about representing us over the years is completely true. Once in a great while, someone will be dissatisfied with the service. When I was over at the police department, and they would file a lawsuit. And Mr. Acho, if not personally, someone certainly from his team would be assigned to respond to the case. And honestly, most of these cases, if not all of them, were without merit. And despite what was being said, and sometimes it was hurtful what was being said, Mr. Acho always gave us great confidence, and his team gave us great confidence to let us know that we would be well represented, this township would be well represented, and not to worry.
And Mr. Acho actually sat down with Jake Schaff of Civic Center TV to talk about how it feels to receive this honor and his unique challenges as well.
Ron Acho joining us on The Splash Live. Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, but that opening was kind of took my breath away.
Well, absolutely. You've done such great work throughout the community. Congratulations on being named Business Person of the Year. How did you feel when you first received the news of this recognition?
Well, truthfully, I was stunned. I even turned it down because, number one, I'm not a business person. And two, I don't think I'm worthy of that honor because there's so many others that are way more accomplished than I am. But I was very elated that they thought to award me that award.
Well, you certainly deserve it through all of the hard work that you've done throughout both the Chaldean and Michigan business communities. What have been the most rewarding aspects of serving these communities?
Well, to me, being an attorney is like ministering. The highest professions, I mean, there are so many, but I think medicine and religious ministry and law is right up there, because when people come to you, they come to you with issues and problems. And the gratification comes, Jake, when people come to you with a problem and then you can help them with it. And then when you see them succeed and flourish and you had a small part in it, then that's where the gratification comes.
I'd imagine so. And with working for over 51 years in this field, I'm sure that there have been a lot of different cases and projects that you've worked on in that time period. Is there a particularly meaningful one that still stands out to you today?
Well, you are correct, Jake, that there have been quite a few, but the one that I have to always go back to shows how God works and how miracles do exist. Because you couldn't script what I'm going to tell you, okay? About 48 years ago, an elderly African-American man came to see me. And he said, Mr. Atcho, you were recommended to me. I want you to appeal the denial of my Social Security benefits. I said, okay. I said, what's your disability? He said, I don't have one. I said, what? He said, no, I'm not disabled. He said, I have a claw for a left hand, but I've worked for years and I'm not disabled. I said, well, I can't get you workers' compensation, or unemployment. I'm sorry, I got confused. Social Security disability. I said, because you have to be totally and permanently disabled. He said, Mr. Atcho, he says, but I need the money. I said, but I can't help you. You're not disabled. He said, well, please take the case. I said, okay, but let me ask you this. How come you're not working? He said, well, I was working at this company for 25 years and they closed the plant. I said, well, why don't you get another job? He said, Mr. Atcho, look at me. I'm old, I'm black, I have a claw for a hand. Who's going to hire me? He said, don't you think I've tried? I said, I felt sorry for him. I said, okay, you know what, I'll file, but we're not going to win. He said, thank you. So a few months go by, we get a notice of a hearing. And back in those days, Jake, they had visiting judges. And this judge was coming in from Louisiana. So I said, oh, great. I called my client. I said, listen, I got more bad news. We got a judge from Louisiana. He's probably old, white, and racist. We have no chance to win, none. He said, Mr. Atcho, you've already told me, I understand, but please keep the case. And again, it's not a contingency, so I wasn't charging him. And so I figured I'm doing this, as an act of charity. Here's what happened. We go to the hearing and we go into a conference room. Sure enough, the judge is sitting there. He's older and he's white. He has a claw for a left hand.
Really?
My client didn't even sit down. Catch this. The judge said, where'd that happen? The war. Yeah, me too. What branch? Army. Yeah, me too. What unit? 82nd Airborne. Yeah, me too. Where did it happen? Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, me too. Sit down. Now, Jake, these hearings take an hour and a half to 2 hours of the judge questioning the witness. He asks him, are you disabled? Yeah. Okay. He said, do you have any questions, counsel? Now, I was a young attorney, and I'm, what the heck? What kind of record? He just asked him, are you disabled? There's no record. Counsel, do you have any questions? I was all intimidated. I said, no. Decisions take 30 to 45 days. He says to my client, you have a decision tomorrow. And we won.
Wow, that is crazy. Like I was hanging on every single word. That is truly one of those serendipitous moments that you can't really explain. And I completely understand how that has stood out in your mind for the past, did you say 48 years ago that happened?
Yeah. I mean, it's like it was yesterday. He was sitting right there. And I was telling him, you have no chance, because, you don't want to give clients a false hope or expectation. He was a good, decent man who was black, and nobody would hire him. And his only hope was some miracle. And there it was. I mean, in all my career, I've never seen anything. I've had a lot of interesting things happen, but nothing that can top that. Nothing.
I completely understand. That is such a big moment that has absolutely stood the test of time and has stood out in your mind throughout your 50 years of dedicated service. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with Ron Acho, who was just recognized by the Chaldean American Chamber of Commerce and was named their Business Person of the Year for 2025. And Ron, mentorship is often critical to long-term success. Have you used your experience to mentor some younger attorneys? And what advice do you most often share with them?
Well, first of all, I have had the privilege of mentoring a lot of people, especially law clerks, law students, and people who want to become attorneys. And what I tell them is that, first of all, go into the field or whatever you're going to do so that you enjoy it, so that you like doing whatever you do. The second thing I tell people, young people, be the best. Be absolutely the best. Now, in reality, are they always going to be the best? Maybe not. But if they strive to be the best, they will ultimately be successful. Plus, there's a saying that I've had that I tell some people, not everyone. Work as if everything depends on you, and pray as everything depends on God. Work as if everything depends on you, and pray as if everything depends on God. And you know what? It served me well for all these years.
Clearly it has. That's why you're sitting here today, and that's why you've won this incredible award. And I'd imagine it'd be difficult to get to this point alone. I'm sure that your family and your close community has played a big role in helping you get to where you are right now. What role has your family and community played in your professional journey and achievements?
Well, you're absolutely right, Jake. The reality is, if I didn't have my wife, Rita, which I always say is my greatest accomplishment, marrying her, she gave up her career so I could advance my career. She's the one that raised our children. She was there so many days when I wasn't, nights or trips, whatever I had to go. So she was my strength. And without her, this would never be possible. The other thing is, you really don't succeed in life by yourself. It's not possible. The most successful people I've ever seen have always said that they hire people smarter than they are. So when you have people who are very supportive and who work hard, like I acknowledge my staff on May 1st, I said they work hard every single day to make me look good. And we've been around the firm 60 years. That's not by accident. That's because you hire people that are good people, then you try to reward them as best as you can. And we don't pay the most, but the thing that I like the most, 5 of our lawyers became judges. And we do lose attorneys from time to time. But 1 out of every 3 attorneys over the years that have left, they've asked to come back.
Well, that just says a lot about your firm and about what you offer to all of these people. And Ron, having won this award, what are your hopes and goals moving forward, both for your practice and your contributions to the community?
Well, my hope is I can still offer advice. At the stage of my career, a lot of what I do is strategic, advisory, counseling. And one of the benefits I've had, I've represented some very successful, very smart people. And you learn from them. Like Mike George, who is a legend in the Chaldean community. He was not only a friend, but a mentor. He was exceptionally smart. So when you sit around with people like that, you learn from them. And when you've done so many cases I've had over the years, over 8,000, that it's not you become smarter, but you have more knowledge, you have more experience. And you try to impart that to others who have questions or issues. And most of the time you can help them get through things. And it's important too, because sometimes it involves families that call you regarding their children, their spouses, and they ask for help. And it's one of the things I read in the National Geographic about 30, 40 years ago. They interviewed the justice of an Indian Supreme Court, and he was from the Untouchables. And they asked him, what is your greatest achievement? He said, my greatest achievement is when a man comes to me crying for justice, and I wipe away his tears by getting him justice.
Those are some very powerful words, and it's great to hear of all of the plans that you have moving forward and everything that you've brought to the community. Ron, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Splash Live. Before I let you go, is there any final words you'd like to offer in terms of advice for people who look to be successful in business or law or whatever they choose to do?
Well, again, it's like my father would say, be a good person, raise a good family, and help other people. We're brought on this earth for only a short period of time, and we want to make a difference. And it isn't how much money you're going to make. Really, honestly, that doesn't make you happy. Many rich people are not happy. But if you can help people in need, and you make a difference in people's lives, even if it's one person a day, even if it's complimenting a waitress or someone that you see how they look, if you can make a difference in someone's life each day, then you've been successful.
I love that. Such very simple things any person can do every day to feel successful, and you have been successful for the last 50 years and beyond. Ron, thank you so much for joining us here on the Splash Live.
Thank you. You're a great interviewer. Thank you for your compliments. God bless.
Congratulations again to Ron Acho of Cummings, McClory, Davis, and Acho PLC. And thank you for your service and impact in our community as well. The weather is getting warmer, which means the residents of Greater West Bloomfield are becoming more body conscious and physically active. And an alternative to traditional wellness, I should say, is new traditional IV hydration and therapy. And there's a local business right here in West Bloomfield that provides that service. And I recently visited to find out more about the services and the benefits they provide. Here's the story.
So IV therapy and hydration is intravenous nutrition along with water. In addition to that, though, we have options for adding nutrition into it, and I help people figure out what's a good fit for them.
With urgent care visits increasing, IV therapy offers a faster, more accessible way to boost hydration, immunity, and recovery. Deanna Grove explains how Drip IV provides an alternative to traditional care.
We're actually housed between like 4 urgent cares, okay? There's going to be times where you need to go there. I mean, there just is. But on those times that you don't, and you know that you're dehydrated, you know that you need nutrition, this is an amazing alternative to the long wait times, to being around a lot of people that are sick, you know, and it's just, it's a different vibe here, right? You get to sit in a comfortable, relaxing massage chair, just let all that goodness sink in from the IV bag, and there's no wait time, virtually no wait time here. Maybe 5 minutes if someone's ahead of you. But other than that, it is a great alternative to having to go to the emergency room.
Unlike traditional supplements, IV therapy delivers vitamins directly into the bloodstream for faster absorption. Deanna shares how this method maximizes health benefits.
Oral supplements, I definitely recommend them. You know, you really should take your vitamins, a good high quality vitamin. However, there's a process when you ingest something, just like food or water or vitamins. There's an entire process that goes down your system, starting with saliva and stomach and then liver, and then it gets to where it needs to be, which is where? The bloodstream. So we bypass all of that and go right to the bloodstream, which is why you leave here feeling amazing.
Since opening in West Bloomfield, Drip IV has been growing interest in its wellness services. We also discussed the community's response to this alternative health option.
Oh my goodness, the community has responded so well. You know, we have so many like family members, even husband and wives, couples that will come here on a monthly basis. We were actually just featured in the West Bloomfield City Lifestyle magazine. These are 2 of our favorite clients that come in, and they just spend family time together. This has been a great response, and we were very honored to be featured in the City Lifestyle magazine in West Bloomfield. This is Mark McManus, one of the owners, and it's a really great interview.
And there are plenty more excellent options for health service providers as well as alternative wellness solutions right here in Greater West Bloomfield. For listings of local businesses that you can actually support, visit westbloomfieldchamber.com for more information. And you can keep up with Civic Center TV on all digital platforms. We are on Facebook at Civic Center TV 15, as well as YouTube, Instagram, and X, the app formerly known as Twitter, all at Civic Center TV. And if you're watching on Civic Center TV, get your smartphone out, get your camera out, and go ahead and scan that QR code to give you a link directly there as well. And of course, check out everything at civiccentertv.com. I've been your host, Kevin McIntosh. Per usual, we are live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.